there's a lot of waiting where when it comes to custody battles, and I was broken not because I was confused as to whether I wanted to leave this toxic person or this toxic dynamic, but because I wanted my children to have that perfect two-parent home. But when I expressed that to that young man, he looked at me and said, "Don't worry about that." And I was thinking, it's weird coming from a person that's in a two-parent home. It's like it's easy for you to say, I want my children to have this. It's like, don't worry about that. I wish my parents left each other. And this is coming from a person that's in their mid 20s that is still affected and witnessing the drama that their parents go through.
And that cycle
And it
continued.
continues. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered Heart Talks podcast with the Dawkins for
Another one.
another one.
Another
I'm
one.
actually saying this one this time. You say, babe, because I'm used to you saying it
No,
and
no,
me backing up.
you did a good job. You did a
All
good
right.
job.
For
Another
another
one.
one. And today we are having a very interesting topic. You've seen the thumbnail. But before we dive into this conversation, we would love for you to go ahead and give this video a like, share it, and if you have any thoughts while listening to this video, share your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to interact with you there. Our love isn't absent problems, but it sure is absent drama. You deserve this kind of love. Unfiltered Heart Talks with the Dawkins. So, what is this video about?
Well, it was sparked from a comment. A lot of the videos we do are sparked from comments or
Absolutely.
private messages or concerns. We always try to respond to the needs of our community.
Yes.
And so this one is no different.
Mhm.
And I don't remember the exact video. This video has been planning months in advance.
Yeah.
But there was a video that we posted over on TikTok, and it was one of those videos that we posted on toxic relationship. And the person said that it's different when kids are involved.
Yeah.
And a follow-up comment they made was that they stayed in that toxic relationship until the kids just they're waiting until the kids are 18 before they leave.
Wow.
And of course, we recognize that this is a pattern that we
It's
have
very common.
seen, throughout the ages. It's not unique to the 21st century, the 20th century, or any other century.
Yes.
It's a perpetual problem that we have seen in a lot of marriages.
Yes.
And that is why we always say that the idea or the belief or the social construct where people are taught to believe that because you were raised in a two-parent home, it means that
You're
fit
better off.
or you are better fit
Yes.
for marriage. That's a big fat
It's
lie.
false. Yeah.
It's false.
False. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have seen that we have recognized that that is a huge issue, and we want to caution individuals where that mindset is
It's concerned.
concerned.
Absolutely.
Don't take it for granted that because someone is from a two-parent home, it means that they are ready.
Yes. And Pop the Balloon is a prime example. There's so many people that will ask that one question: are your parents together? Are they still married? All that stuff. There's this one woman that popped on a guy, or she popped her balloon because she said she was from a two-parent home and her parents are still married, and because he wasn't in that same boat anymore because his parents did eventually get a
Right.
divorce, she didn't want that.
Right.
So
right.
maybe that's just her preference, but
Mhm.
if the idea behind that is a person that stems from a two-parent home is better fitted for life, that is completely false.
It is false.
It's good to have both parents around
It
in a
is.
healthy environment. Absolutely. If that's what your idea is, and if that's what your desire is, fine. But it does not always equal
Right, right.
perfect.
I guess people just automatically assume it means stability.
Yes.
You know that once you are from a two parent home, you are stable.
Stable.
But people need to understand that emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, it's not something that is necessarily built from within the home. It's built on the self identity journey. Because one other thing that people need to understand where this is concerned too is that if the environment or the home is toxic, if there are dysfunction, if the family is dysfunctional, if there's a lot of fighting, all of those things,
Mhm.
children are going to absorb. And interestingly, research backs this as well. Studies consistently show that children raised in high conflict homes often experience higher levels of anxiety, dysfunctional relationship, low self esteem, anger, dysregulation, and depression,
Even if those families are two parent homes.
even if those families are two parent home. So it's a notion that people have that they need to dismiss because it's false.
And since you're on statistics, another interesting thing too is that children who grow up in those toxic home environments,
Mm-hmm.
they're twice as likely to enter those toxic or even create those toxic dynamics themselves in their relationships going
Wow.
forward.
Yeah. So think about that. The next time, guys, you talk about because I've seen people and pop the balloon who pop on people because they are not from a two parent home, and I always wonder what does that have to do with anything. The reality is a lot of these two parent home are even more toxic than sole parent families. There are a lot of single parent who are very intentional about how they raise their kids. And I've seen a lot of two parent home and they raise their kids like it's crazy some of the things that they allow.
Yeah, it's
You
because
know?
even though both parents are there is
Exactly.
no unity. And because there's no unity, there's division. There's so much division. One parent does things one way, the other parent does things another way. So it's almost like a parallel parenting kind of dynamic going on under the same roof, which
Mm-hmm.
causes a lot of confusion, a lot of stress on a young mind. And because those young minds, as we said, are very impressionable, that is what they grow up to normalize.
Yeah, and
Division in the home.
right. And there's also a lot of arguments because a lot of these parents, as we said, they're just sticking around until the kids are 18, you know? And I always say this to you too, babe. And it baffles my mind because if someone have 18 years in a relationship, in a marriage that you tell you yourself that you don't want,
Mm.
but you're just staying just for the kids. That's 18 years you have to work on you. That's 18 years you
Your
both
partner
have
has to
you
work
on
on
themselves.
themselves
And that's 18 years you both have
to come to reconciliation.
to come to a reconciliation.
Yes.
Or if the relationship is irretrievably broken, then
What's the point of
what's
sticking
the
around?
point?
Because the truth is, children don't necessarily need two parents. They need what they need are emotionally stable parents. They
Mm-hmm.
want to be emotionally safe, and if they don't learn that in that home with the two parents, then it's not really serving a
It's
purpose.
not
It's
really
better to
serving
have
them.
one parent who can offer that emotional security, who can offer those great
Emotional
values,
stability,
than to have
yes.
two that are just going in
At
opposite
each other's neck,
directions. Yeah.
yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, I never understood it, and I don't understand it up to
Yeah,
today.
because what it does for the child is going to be walking on eggshells, right? Because everything is a cannonball. If you step on something wrong, there might be an argument. And also, what those children are conditioned to believe,
Right.
especially at that young age.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kids, if you go back and ask those children that were in those toxic two parent homes, they'll say, "My mom are fighting because of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the reason." And those children, you'll find that those children in those dynamics try to overcompensate, or they underperform most times.
But I just wanted to go back to something that you said because I don't want you probably missaid it. I don't want the comments to go crazy. When you said that children don't necessarily need both parents, children don't necessarily need perfect parents. They need
Children don't,
emotionally safe
I
ones.
said, children don't need both parents in a toxic home.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to what's the purpose, is it what purpose is it going to serve if those that having two parents is just not going to serve you?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
better to have two whole healthy parents because
mm-hmm.
they can give something to you. But
Right.
if you have two toxic parents, man, you're better off with one
You're better
whole
off with none.
parent or none at all. So I'm
Yeah,
not saying that children don't need parents. They
right.
and it, the in the perfect world, or where in a world where people can deny themselves and be disciplined and work on
Mm-hmm.
themselves and bring their
Mm-hmm.
best to the table, two parents are ideal, would be ideal.
Yes.
However, if those two parents are just going to bring toxicity, they're creating a monster to go out and cause havoc in people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a solid point. They're
Mhm.
creating another William.
They're creating another William. They're creating another
Man.
imp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And of course, babe, you know, there are many stories from young men and young women who have lived through the experience of having two parents in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And you often hear that resentment
Oh,
that is
yes.
built up
I know of
over
one
time.
personally.
You
Yes.
know, you hear the stories. It's a lot. Even when
Mm-hmm.
when I was going to high school, there used to be students there who grew up in those toxic families, and you would hear those kids talk about their experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not doing justice for the kids. And what a lot of these parents need to understand is that staying together is not the same as keeping the family together, you know? And a peaceful single parent home is always going to be healthier
Then a
than a
two
chaotic two
parent.
parent home.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so this idea of staying for the kids with your toxic selves, it really doesn't make any sense. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
helping the
it's not
children and it's
helping
not
them.
helping you.
Yep.
You know, if anything, you are going through that mental depression, stress that eventually can lead to chronic illnesses, which is something that we have talked about scientifically. The video that we did on toxic relationships and the effects, the
Yes.
scientific effects it has on the body, the mental health, it affects your spiritual health. This is what I'm thinking about. When you are there spending that 18 years just for the kids, doing harm to them in that dysfunction, that's 18 years you could spend rebuilding something healthy
Mm-hmm.
that you could
Absolutely.
that
It's
you
just a
could
waste of time.
offer to your
It's just a
children.
waste of
It's a
time.
waste of time.
It's just a
And
waste of time.
it's the truth that a lot of people in these dynamics will not accept and they don't want to hear. But it is literally a waste of time because you're doing
Yes.
harm to the innocent children and harm to
To
yourself and your
yourself.
partner.
Babe, I know we're going to mention this later on down because we stress this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People might be thinking that we're the couple that are we're trying to break relationships apart. We are not. We just understand how detrimental toxic
Toxic
relationships
relationships.
can be for you personally. And especially if children are involved, innocent, cute, little chubby cheek children, it is bad for them as well because children are like little sponges. And I want you all to know we are not saying that people should leave their relationship at the first sign of trouble
Right.
because
Every
problems, every
relationship.
relationship has problems. We say, our relationship is not absent problems, but it is absent drama. Problems are inevitable. Drama is what you fuel into, you cultivate. And when a child has to absorb that, oh God, man,
Mm.
it's not good for them. And I'm speaking from a place of knowing how impressionable young minds are. So we're not saying leave at the first sign of trouble. They're going to come. But we are saying if the relationship has turned into a cycle of dysfunction, not one or two problems here or there, but a repetitive, high conflict, toxic environment, at that point, staying does not protect the children, it only conditions them. And babe, a lot of times, we had this one video that I think that video received the most comments when we said if they say it once or twice, you should leave.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving does not mean that you're unwilling to work out problems. Leaving does not mean that you're a wuss and you cannot have a solid relationship. Leaving means, in this case, that you're no longer willing to forfeit peace just to pretend that everything looks good, just to have that two-parent family home. You shouldn't sacrifice. You should never have to sacrifice peace just to keep that nuclear image, because in the long term it's only detrimental.
People need to understand that if you're in a toxic relationship and you are willing to do the work to fix the relationship and the other party is not, then you are not responsible for to fix someone else's dysfunction.
No,
And you must understand that when kids are involved, and this is what I wish a lot of people, especially some of the things that I see happening here, people need to understand that when kids are involved, it's no longer about you.
it's no longer about
It
you,
is about
the
the
child
children.
and or the children.
And
Yes.
so if the environment, if you have the spirit of discernment, and discernment, I know as Christians we always try to spiritualize discernment, but discernment is not necessarily spiritualized.
Sometimes literally common sense.
Sometimes literally common sense. It's
Yes.
it's it's the ability to see hidden traps, hidden doors, or hidden destruction that underlying issues. So if you are able to see that me staying, trying to work, but this person is
Unwilling
unwilling,
to.
is going to create that continuous toxic pattern.
That is not long term. It's not going to be good for the
Long term, it's
children.
not going to be good for the children. And children don't deserve to be in a relationship where love is loud and always apologetic. They deserve a healthy
Stable
environment, stable
climate. Yeah.
environment where where they can grow up seeing that love, you know, portrayed through their parents. They want to see mommy and daddy kissing, mommy and daddy learning how to resolve issues as mature individuals,
Yes.
working through their differences. The toxicity that you're going to have in a relationship where two people is just at each other's throat all the time, it's not good. And
It's
people
not
need to
good.
realize that. And you always have to make the better choice for the children.
You
It's not
know,
about you anymore.
absolutely. I am thinking about this one young man who told me. I remember I was at this place where, as I said many times in other videos, it was during the litigation phase. There's a lot of waiting where when it comes to custody battles, and I was broken, not because I was confused as to whether I wanted to leave this toxic person
Mm-hmm.
or this toxic dynamic, but because I wanted my children to have that perfect two-parent home.
Right.
But when I expressed that to that young man, he looked at me and said, "Don't worry about that." And I was thinking, it's weird coming from a person that's in a two-parent home. Like, it's easy for you to say, I want my children to have this. He's like, don't worry about that. I wish my my
Wow.
parents left each other. And this is coming from a person that's in their mid-20s
Mm.
that is still affected and witnessing the
Mm.
drama that their parents go through.
And that cycle
And it
continued.
continues. And he said, I wish they would just leave. Like, I wish my mom would just leave him.
Right.
I wish he would just walk away, just leave,
Right.
just stop the cycle because it's affecting me even at this late age. So
Right.
imagine it's indelibly etched in that young man.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not conscious about ensuring that this cycle does not repeat in his relationships, he's gonna create the same toxic
Right.
cycle. He has to be willing to see that this is what happened. It was not fair. I'm going to unlearn all of that. So when I pursue a relationship, I can experience peace.
Right. And as you make mention of that, people need to realize that the two parent family is just a myth. It is a myth. The question that people need to ask, a series of questions. Did you grow up in a two parent home?
Mm-hmm.
If yes,
Was it a healthy one?
if yes,
Mm-hmm.
what was the family dynamic like? What was the
Yes.
relationship between your mother and your
And your
father?
father.
If the relationship is it was a good and healthy one, then you can ask follow-up questions. What are some of the things that you have learned from your parents? You
Yes.
know, if it was a toxic one, or they say it's not that great, you need to ask, how has that affected you?
Yes.
And
What work
have
are you
you
doing?
done the
Yes.
work to
Unlearn.
ensure that you are in a better place and you will not repeat the same cycles that you saw in that dynamic? So those are the series of questions that people need
Need to
to
start
ask.
asking and not just, oh,
And
did you
not
do you
just
have
if you
both
grew up in a
parents in
two
your,
parent
like,
home.
that does not
You know,
mean
it does
anything.
not mean
It does not
anything.
mean anything.
Right?
A lot of
And
single parents have raised good and solid boys
sol-
and good and solid girls,
then look
way better
then
than
look
the two
then
parent
look by
home.
me.
Look my you.
You understand? And if the answer is no, I did not grow up in a two parent home, don't write them off. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what did that dynamic look like for you in a single parent home? If it
Yes.
was a positive one, what are some of the things that you learned that you can
Yes.
take over in your
Into your
relationship?
relationship.
If it was a negative
Negative one.
one, how has it affected you? Have you done the work on yourself? Because people need to understand that apart from the family dynamics, what is more important is if they have done the work on themselves. And
Absolutely.
that is why you find so many people in their late 30s, late 40s, and they're still not there.
Mm-hmm.
They might have, as we talk about those 4 milestones that they need to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish, they might just have two. But
Yes.
most times, emotional intelligence and emotional maturity is lacking. And a lot of times, they have three of the milestones. They have the financial stability. You know, I don't remember the other one. They're where they want to be. They have the emotional intelligence, but they are not emotionally mature. There is no
Mm-hmm.
practicality when it comes to being able
Yeah.
to apply.
Yeah.
So these are the questions that people need to seriously consider when they're asking, instead of asking about two parent home.
And you know what? Can you imagine two people coming together who value the two parent home dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was positive or negative? They value it so much that, they find themselves together, and whether it's toxic or it's healthy, whatever it is, they're going to stick it out,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going to stick it out. You know how many, I'm just thinking about what percentage of couples that built their relationship solely off of the fact that the other person came from a two parent home and their parents are still married. What is the dynamic of that home?
Mm.
What are the dynamics of those homes? Because some people are just, well, this is what we grew up seeing and this is normal to us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's no unlearning to
They have been
unlearn. They've
conditioned
just
to
been
normalize
conditioned,
toxicity.
and there's no divorce. Divorce is not even an option. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
stick this out because
Yeah, yeah,
it's tough. And I'm not like, if that's your
yeah.
cup of tea, sip it with honey and have some crackers on the side, honey. But it makes me wonder, what are we, what world are we creating?
Mm.
It's us.
It's a perpetual generation of broken people. It's pure brokenness. The
Mm.
systems are broken, people are broken, everything is broken.
Mm-hmm.
But the question that a lot of people need to ask, or what a lot of people need to ask themselves, is if staying means sacrificing the emotional safety of my children or me, then that's not staying for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's staying because of fear.
Mm.
Fear that a
They won't.
separation or a divorce
We tear them
might create
apart.
more harm for the
Yes.
children. And that's a delusion right there that
Mm-hmm.
really needs some unlearning, relearning.
Mm-hmm.
It needs research and studies and understanding.
And on the topic of fear, fear should never raise children.
Mm.
Fear should never raise children. Perfect love casts out fear. If there's no love there, then there's just a fear mongering environment, and the that's not the world or the
Right.
children we want to bring into this world.
No,
No.
no. So there you have it, guys. Unfiltered hard talks, as unfiltered as it gets.
Yes.
You know, so we appreciate you guys joining us for this conversation. We are curious to hear what you think. We know a lot of people have grown up in toxic environment. I'm from a broken home, but thank God for Jesus, who really helped me to do a lot of work on myself. You know, if it wasn't for that process of transformation, maybe, just maybe, I would have been lost, you know, in the system, or
Lost in the thicket somewhere.
somewhere,
Yeah.
you know, not existing right now. But I'm grateful for that, because that transformation really created the pathway for the process, you know, to really do the work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, if you're out there, I know a lot of people have gone through it. Spend some time, do the work on yourself, find yourself a relationship mentor. That is a need, especially in 2026. It's a need.
Yes.
Everybody needs that, you know, whether it's a book, a podcast, something, you need a relationship mentor.
Yes.
So, yeah, tell us what you think in the comment section. And, babe, they should do what?
Yes, go ahead, like and share the video. And if you like this content or any of our other videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. We are going to meet you all down in the comment section. So see you soon.
And as we always say, man,
This is Unfiltered Hard Talks,
and you deserve this kind of love.
love.
A love that is honest.
A love that is safe. And a love that is aligned with God's design.
See you guys for another one.
Our love isn't absent problems, but it sure is absent drama. You deserve this kind of love. Unfiltered Hard Talks with the Dawkins.